Dare great things for Christ. Christ calls us to dare great things. In the marketplace, as well as in the mission field, there has never been a time like the present for the spirit of the Catholic entrepreneur. Now is the time for men and women of great courage and great vision to engage our church and our culture. Now is the time to dare great things. And here is your host as we dare great things, Father Nathan Cromley, the president and founder of the St. John Institute.
It's a well-known fact that leaders in industry and society are men and women of action. If we're in charge, it's to produce a result. But living under this kind of pressure can sometimes weaken the spirit that is necessary for success. After all, we didn't get involved just to be a machine. We got involved in order to lead, and leadership is much more than just producing results. In this 7th part of our series on Secrets to Joyful Leadership, we explore the power of beauty and its capacity to motivate a joyful leader. Well, I certainly hope you are enjoying this class as much as I am. We're in the 7th part now of our Secrets to Joyful Leadership. And I've got to admit, this is one of my favorite series to do with you because it's almost goes without saying that leadership requires joy, because if we're not happy about where we're going, nobody's going to want to follow us there. And if leadership is about bringing people in behind us for a change that we're effectuating first and on their behalf, it only goes to, it's common sense that they need to see that we're enjoying this, that we're actually happy about where we're going. If we're not happy about where we're going, people aren't going to want to follow us there. It's just really simple. And we can think about the power of this in our families, for example. I mean, if we want to change our children's attitude, that first thing that's necessary is for us to change our own. Because our kids are going to follow one step behind the attitude that we exhibit in our own family life. They absorb the radiation, so to speak, that we give off. And so we need to radiate joy. We need to radiate happiness, peace, etc. There's a story that goes from a famous Catholic book called The Soul of the Apostolate, where Dom Chattard is giving this example about priests. And he's saying if the priest is a saint, then the people will be good. And if the priest is good, then the people will be mediocre. If the priest is mediocre, well, the people will be bad. And he basically says that those that are engendered, or those that are caused or brought forth by the effect of a leader, will always be one stage of spiritual magnitude less than the leader. Well, this goes to show, I mean, if we want people that are engaged and we want our people to be, full of energy and passion for the goal that we're bringing them to pursue, well, we need to be even more full of that energy and passion. They're going to be one step down from where we are. Well, there's a call, therefore, to the inner life of a leader. And this is something I never tire of repeating, because the whole ministry that we're doing at the St. John Leadership Network here is a leadership that focuses on the inside. I mean, what's the difference between a Christian leader and a non-Christian leader? On the outside, we have to do the same things. We have to make reports. We have to delegate authority. We have to organize labor. We have to create workflows. We have to onboard. We have to offboard. We have to pay our bills. It's the same thing on the outside. Yeah, well, what's the difference? Is that on the inside, our spirits ought to be more radiant, more joyful, more undefeatable than anybody else's, because we follow a resurrected God whom we claim to have alive in our hearts. And it just makes me chuckle because we claim that. But I mean, if we really believe that, there should be a difference in our leadership. And I'm here to say, yes, there is a difference in our leadership. And if you look historically at the great leaders who espoused Christianity in their souls, we're going to call them the saints, for example, amongst others. But if you just look at the canonized saints, that's what made each one of them so extraordinary. And they've flourished in areas where other people have failed. There's an advantage to Christian leadership that comes because of the strength of soul that Jesus Christ is uniquely capable of giving us. Okay? So we don't follow him to have that strength of soul as if we were using Christ for some sort of worldly advantage. Not at all. But at the same time, there is an advantage, even in this world, for someone who claims that they're not doing it for the sake of this world, but for the next. Okay, that spirit that Christ gives us radiates forth an effect that our world is desperately in need of. When we lead with a Christian soul, for example, well, we don't look at failure as final. We don't look at challenge or as suffering as something that's irredeemable. We don't look at people who aren't developed as weaknesses of the organization, but rather as potential that can eventually serve us. We look at everything that we do, including our difficulties, our challenges, and our failures, from the perspective of hope, because we believe in a God who has redeemed what is fallen and has made his greatest victories out of what is broken. What a vision for leadership. I mean, and then we get also that perspective to say that this world that we are working in and we're serving to perfect as a home for the next, which is infinite in perfection. I mean, we bring all of the created world, our goods and our services, to a state that's at the service of something even higher. Oh my goodness, what a vocation we have. If it weren't for that perspective, then we would be lost saying that money is for its own sake and that power on this earth is the highest goal of any human aspiration, But that's kind of a sad thing, because that means that people who don't have power have no real claim to happiness, or that, and if money is for its own sake, then there's no limit to greed. and this is not the highest form of life, to be a greedy, power-hungry individual. And yet what else is there if all that we have is the material aspects of this world? This is why the whole world is waiting for the revelation of the sons of God, right? And that the revelation of the sons of God comes from those who are in roles of leadership, who lead not from the outside, saying that our role is just to increase the bottom line. Right? I mean, of course, we need to increase the bottom line, but that's not the only role of leadership. In fact, it's not even the first role of leadership. It's the necessary context for business leadership. But the necessary context doesn't fulfill all of the demands of the definition of leadership, right? You can't just say that I'm a leader because I'm fulfilling the context of leadership. No, I'm in the context of leadership to produce something even more than that context. And what is it that we're trying to produce? Genuine humanity, a fullness of the human person who is in front of us. We're there, in other words, to use our business leadership at the service of a flourishing that is deeper and greater than business itself. And I know that this sounds complex and deep, but because it is, but at the same time, it's extremely important. And we know this instinctively. I've been given a business in which I have to increase my bottom line year after year. But I do that for the sake of my workers, for the sake of my community, for the sake of the world that my business is called to bless, for the sake of my suppliers, for the sake of my customers. In other words, I'm doing this because it is a good thing to do. And therefore, yes, we want to grow it. And we want to also grow our capacity to do even more with it. But it's not the capacity itself that's the goal. This is where Christ comes in. Because suddenly, if I've got that perspective, then everything that I'm doing with my business has a real direction. I know what I'm doing it for. I'm doing this as a blessing of God to this world, to my people, and to me in my own life, as I grow in my holiness thereby. I love this. I want to put it in this perspective because we're talking here about the secrets to joyful leadership. If you don't have that perspective, I don't know what kind of joy you're going to define your business with. I mean, like, what does it mean for you to be a joyful leader if all you're doing is to try to become a richer and more powerful person with no real aspiration beyond that wealth and power? That's not joy. I mean, even just think about your experience. Who have you met in your life that's full of joy? Guaranteed it's going to be the same people who are full of love. Joy is a coefficient with love. If you want joy, find love. Well, the greater the love, the greater the joy. And since our love should be the greatest, a very sharing in the love of God himself, a sharing in the love of God himself. That's what charity is in our soul. And we Christians profess to have charity. Therefore, we're supposed to have the greatest love and therefore the greatest of joys. And this is what we get to give the world in and through our leadership. What a vocation.
Would you like to hear more from Father Nathan? Join the St. John Leadership Network and receive a 2-minute glance at the gospel every Sunday morning right to your phone. To learn more, go to www.stjohnleadershipnetwork.org/member and join for free today.
So let's talk for a second about the secrets to joyful leadership. And each one of these secrets, in a sense, is where we see the soul taking possession of the body and the grace of Christ in our spirits shining through the material elements of our daily tasks. Okay, so it's the triumph of the heart over and above the context of business. This is where joy suddenly becomes evident, and also where we find real purpose. Okay, all of us can spin the wheel, and we all need to spin the wheel every day. That's what we do. Right? You get up in the morning and you got to make breakfast for the kids. And then after breakfast, you've got to put breakfast away in order what? To make some space so that then you can get ready for lunch. And then after lunch, put lunch away to make space to get ready for, it's like you're spinning the wheel. Every day we kind of do the same routine. We get up full of energy and then we spend it until we're tired at the end of the day, and we go back to bed to recharge our body battery, so to speak, and then to spend that energy again and then recharge. And that's spinning the wheel. Okay. There's nothing, that's the context that we have every day. Some of us live our leadership in the home with our kids. Some of us lead our leadership in society, in our social settings with the people that we influence. Others, of course, it's with our employees or with our employers at work. But all of us have a wheel to spin. That is not the essence of our life. It's the necessity of our life, but it's not the essence. Okay, the essence of our life is the spirit with which we then spin that wheel. What we bring into that work every day of our leadership, and what we bring into it will determine what others get out of it. See, so when I spin the wheel, the energy and the way that I do it is going to influence the effect that my actions will then have on the world. Right? So what's the energy that we're taking into it? I love to listen to different, forms of leadership talks online and read different information of different perspectives people take into the world of leadership development. And it kind of makes me smile because, many of them are very good and there's insight you can get from anything. But it makes me smile because when you take the love of Christ, there's nothing like it for developing leadership. There's just nothing like it. The other forms of leadership development coming from a secular perspective or from the Stoic philosophers of old or from the Orient, these are fine things and many of them are very noble in what they say, but they pale in comparison to the power of a philosophy that says that what we do for others. That what we do foundationally is a gift of ourself, motivated and formed by the love of God that is found in a resurrection of Jesus Christ. It just transcends all else in its capacity to fulfill us. Because if you take other philosophies, and of course, I'm not putting them down, I'm just saying that they're limited. They say it's about you. It's about you living the life you want to live, about you being complete control of yourself and of your surroundings and not letting them master you. Okay, that's a Stoic way, for example, of looking at things, is that you get to live your vision of the world in total control. I say, well, that's not bad. It's a good starting point, but we can go further from that. Like, what if the vision of the world that I lived in total control was a vision that said, I'm here to bring eternal life and the blessing of hope for a union with God into this world? Well, that's a little bit more profound, right? And for that, we would need some of the strength that we see in these other philosophies. Yeah, it'd be good, but it's at the service of love. This is what makes Christianity so immensely powerful and our leadership so utterly important, is that what the impact that we're giving this world is to say that this world is not about us. It's actually about a mystery greater than us. It's about our sharing in the communion of the Father and the Son in the Holy Spirit. and that we're giving that a foretaste of that communion by the organizations that we create and that we lead, from the family to the business. Wow, that's a perspective that deserves its own place. And that's our perspective as Christian leaders. Right? So in that perspective, joy becomes essential. And I know how important it is to emphasize, results and spreadsheets. And, I know that it is. You can't have a business if you're not making a profit. Okay. The business will die. You can't run a nonprofit if you don't make it sustainable. The nonprofit will die. Okay. It's just that that's not the purpose of the nonprofit, and it's not the purpose of the business. There's something greater that we need to lead our people to, especially if we're Christians. My goodness. Than saying that our goal is just to make the business run. That's the essential context, but it's not the purpose. What's the purpose of that business running? To benefit the growth of every person who's in that business. That's the purpose. And to bless, by the goods and services rendered by that business, a world that is in its authentic development. And that means that some of the profit of the business needs to be given to other endeavors that are more spiritual in nature than that of the business. Helping kids to read, helping families to stay together, helping people to pray. I mean, why wouldn't we take our businesses and use some of the profits to donate it to the church? Of course we should. Why wouldn't we? We could donate to many kinds of churches if we wish, but developing the spiritual aspect of the human person, this is part of the purpose, the greater purpose that we bear witness to, because we claim to know God. And for those who claim to know God, we have a deeper understanding of what human life is all about, and we will not lead just a business for its own sake. We will lead a business with a view to that higher purpose. And that means, that we take those stances. And yes, it means that also we take those stances with the company's finances to the degree that's responsible and ethical to do. But some of you are running your own businesses. And if you're running your own business, don't be ashamed of saying my business serves this higher purpose. And how in the many ways it serves love for God and love for our community and love for human people. And so meets all of their needs, both material and spiritual. What a great witness we have to the world, to remind the world of its ultimate purpose, that we're here for heaven, we're here for God, and we're here for a communion between one another that is already so rich, caring, merciful, and loving. And we can say that with our business in a unique way. That's even if you don't own the business. From the way you manage your people, the way you develop your talent, the way that you interact with your colleagues. It's all a witness to this world of the purpose that of what we do. And that purpose can give people a glimpse and a glimmer of something they might not have. The beauty of what our faith gives.
Would you like to start your Thursday mornings with a scriptural leadership lesson? Join the St. John Leadership Network, where Father Nathan hosts a 30-minute call at 6:30 a.m. in all 4 U.S. time zones. To learn more, go to www.stjohnleadershipnetwork.org/member and join for free today.
So we've been talking here about the importance of having a spiritual understanding to what we do in our business. But I want to now talk about the way that we keep that spiritual understanding strong, right? Wherever there's a spiritual understanding of saying that our enterprise, whatever organization we're running, whatever form of leadership that we're in, from a classroom in Cincinnati to a home office somewhere in Florida, all of those things, in fact, are at the service of love. That's the spiritual understanding. And since if they're at the service of love, there will be joy. Right? Joy is concurrent with love. It's a property of charity, says St. Thomas Aquinas. So the secret, therefore, to having a joyful leadership is to being able to put love at the center of as the purpose of what you're doing, and at the center of it, of why you're doing it. Where there is love, there is joy. Okay, so now one of the tools to keeping that love present is something that we oftentimes overlook, especially in America, and that's the power of beauty. And the reason I say especially in America is because I've had the joy of living for 5 years overseas in France. And in my small experience anyway of the French world, I remarked that they use the word beauty all the time. In America, we'll say something is cool or something is great. But the adjective that the French prefer for almost anything is to say that it is beautiful. They'll even say, what is beautiful about what you just said is this. They'll use the word beautiful for just about anything, to describe anything that's wonderful or awesome. Those words we use in English, they'll replace with the beautiful. They'll say it's beautiful. We just don't do that nearly enough in English. So when we talk about the power of beauty, well, a lot of us, there can even be somewhat of a mentality in some of us that's anti-beautiful. I mean, not really, because nobody's against beauty. But there's a mentality in our brains that says, well, the beautiful is for those who are wealthy or the people who appreciate art are snooty or whatever kind of thing that can sometimes be in the back of some of our minds. And this is something we have to banish, right? What the beautiful is, according to St. Thomas Aquinas, he says, it's the splendor of the form. Now, that's a very philosophical way of saying it. But he's saying if you take anything that exists and then you make it splendorous, where what a thing is shines in a state of perfection, you have something that is beautiful. So, I mean, you have an example of a pond. You have a pond in your backyard, not necessarily beautiful. Ah, yes, but when the sunset reflects on the pond and there are ducks that are swimming in a row, through the pink and the orange of the light reflecting on the pond, and you'd say, isn't that beautiful? You have the same pond, yes, but then you have the pond in a state of perfection that you're able to take in. And what happens at that is that suddenly that pond is reflecting something greater than itself. You're seeing it in a state of perfection. It's almost like you're seeing what that pond could be. And it's present in the pond right now, but it's the pond as it could be, as it should be. And your mind rests in that and says, there's the presence of something magnificent here. And it's the same thing. It's just a pond. Well, it's just a pond if you define it that way. But in fact, it's more than a pond. I mean, you're glimpsing the perfection, the rest, the hope, the beauty of something much more if you have the eyes to see it. I mean, for other people, beauty is found in sounds, for example. Well, on the one hand, you have sound, and then on the other hand, you have music. What is music but sound? Oh, no. Music is much more than sound, right? Music is the presence of soul in sound. And when sound is made, radiant, perfected, when its form is made splendorous, well, it's given a unique rhythm. It's attached to the expression of emotion. It's made harmonious by other sounds. And suddenly the same sound that we are hearing, when you hear it in the context of music, inspires the soul. It gives us peace. It gives us joy. It gives us motivation. It's from visual to, you could have the same thing with the sense of touch or with smell or with taste, right? I mean, who doesn't find in great cooking something that just elevates your spirits, makes you relax? Everybody loves great food because with great food, you rest. And every time you find beauty, you rest. Because what beauty is it's saying that the material has found its perfection. And if you get into really fine arts and things that are really well done, I mean, a perfectly cooked meal, it makes you stop. You appreciate it. You say, this is something that just enjoying this is all that I'm going to do with it, because it's bringing me to a higher state of awareness and appreciation. My soul is fed by beauty. This is it's so important for us to get this down in our leadership, because practically in our lives, I mean, we have to spin that wheel constantly. The more pressure you have on you to deliver the goods and to make results, the more important it is for you to have contact with the beautiful. Because in beautiful things, you find a rest that motivates the energies that you're expending as you bring other things into a higher state of perfection. But if you lose that perspective of the rest of the end goal, well, gosh, you're going to lose that power. You're going to lose your motivation and your strength. I mean, it's the quickest way to become a hamster. The quickest way for an eagle to become a hamster is for the eagle to stop flying. The moment the eagle stops flying, it becomes like a hamster. And you could just tread that hamster wheel yourself just as an eagle. That's not what an eagle's for. An eagle's for soaring, right? And so if you're put in the hamster wheel, but you're an eagle, you need to stretch your wings at least once a day and soar. Right? And what do we do? How do we do that? Practically, it's by reading great books, going back to literature, eating foods that are truly nourishing, putting ourselves in the perspective of prayer in a beautiful place. Some of you have images that you prayed before, from crucifixes to icons, which really are just not well done. Now, you might not be visually sensitive, but if you are visually sensitive, get yourself a real piece of art. I mean, what you're doing every day for people, you need to resist the pressures that come with it. What you're doing every day is you're moving the material world with force, energy, and drive. This is a very costly enterprise on the soul. And so you need, if you're going to be doing that, to do that with purpose, you have to be in touch with that purpose every day. And to be in touch with that purpose every day, one of our greatest assets is beauty, from beautiful music to things that are in a state of perfection and rest. And when we go and encounter them, our souls are elevated and given rest. It's just essential for a Christian leader. I'm just sorry. It's just essential, right? If the goal of our Christian leadership is joy, and if joy comes from love, where does love come from? Love comes from the context of the spiritual, of our contact with God, with the truth of one another. And one of the places where that contact and that truth is made really available to us in abundance is beauty. Feeding on the beautiful will help us to feed on love. And feeding on love, it'll make us leaders full of joy. This is the secret to success in Christ.
Dare great things for Christ.
Share your feedback with Father Nathan. Send us an email at communications@stjohninstitute.org. That's communications@stjohninstitute.org. And visit www.stjohninstitute.org and sign up for our newsletter to receive updates from Father Nathan.